He was so egregious, not now, then. He was so egregious that, and Hollywood has never heard this in 100 years. He was so egregious, I put in my contract that I won't work with Rickey Smiley again unless he's in a dress. Now, what was Rickey Smiley's next movie? Was it First Sunday? Did he wear a dress in it? You bet he did. It's in my contract.
The only thing better than pod wars and rap wars is comedian wars. Because it never ends. It's so personal that it never ends. And it will never end. What's up, y'all? It's your man Talkless World reporting the ongoings of the world. And I know if you haven't seen the full interview, I know you've seen clips of it through social media. There's literally no way. I've talked to people who don't even check their phones throughout the day. And they still like, did you see that clip of? It's like, damn, even you? So I know you heard it, or at least you heard clips of it. And by it, I mean Shannon Sharpe's interview with Katt Williams on Shannon Sharpe's platform, Club Shay Shay. And before we get into it, I love the idea that Shannon Sharpe has different platforms that have different vibe. This platform is not the same as the one he has with Chad Ochocinco and Gilbert Arenas now. They added him to that. And those two channels or platforms are not the same as what he does with Stephen A. Smith over at ESPN. Like, those are completely different worlds. If you didn't know any better, they would be completely different people doing them. But he's smart enough to understand that him having his own platforms, multiple of them, one by himself, that he controls 100%, one that he has with his peoples where they split, they break it down, him and his homies, which just happen to be professional athletes or former professional athletes. And then after all that, he has a job, like a regular job, where he goes to ESPN, clocks in, does his little banter with Stephen A., and then clocks out. That's some smart business. It's not all relying on one basket. It's not putting all the eggs in that one basket either. It's all just, it's using the same skills and maximizing the profit. And I think that's genius. I think more artists, rappers, or people who have, how do you say, creative thoughts should do. Because as people, we're unique. We're not always gonna agree. I might like 10 things. If you like 3 or 4 of those things, we could be great friends, and we could disagree on 6, 7 of those things. But those 3 fundamental things that we agree on, we could talk about those for hours, for days, for weeks, for years, for decades, right? People you met, and it's like, oh, you like football? I like football too. And now we could talk about football every day. And we might not even realize that there's nothing else we have in common, because this topic is so good, and there's always something new that we can debate it every day for years, right? Whether it's a specific type of music or music in general. Some people don't even like music. Do you believe that? That's crazy. But anyways, being able to use your talent in a couple different platforms, all that you own either by yourself or with your peoples, and then still have a job where you're doing that same thing in a different way is actually pretty genius. So before we get into this, I just wanted to give Shannon Sharpe credit for having that type of balance, because there's a lot of ESPN spokespeople. Stephen A. Smith just started doing that recently, like within the last year. Think about it. He's been on TV for like 25, 30 years straight, and it's just now like, hey, maybe I should get my own podcast. That's crazy. It's a new system, so it's really interesting. So obviously this was like a almost 3-hour interview, so we literally can't chop up every little piece and go over it with a fine-tuned comb, because then our video would be like 5 hours long. If you didn't see this interview, Katt Williams shot at everybody who's ever shot at him first. He literally mentions the whole industry and how it works. And because Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Fame football player, he likens the comedy world to the sports world, which I think is very interesting. You know, there's a lot of things that we consider sports that aren't really sport, you know, like golf, like shot putting, like racing. Racing is not a sport. Listen, if gymnastics is a sport, then so is cheerleading. And for that matter, just the 3-point competition or the dunk competition, that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into how most things that we think are sports aren't actually sports. Sports are activities in which you could play defense in. Any athletic competition that you can't play defense in, it's just a hobby. It could be highly competitive, but it's not a sport. In football or baseball or basketball, I can stop you, right? I can make sure you don't score. In golf, I'm just hoping you don't score, right? I'm just hoping you don't do well that day. But anyways, my point is that Katt Williams sees comedy as a sport. So he sees all these other comedians as just the ops, but not like drill rapper ops. When I see you, I'm gonna Nah, it's more like, and he constantly brings it up to Sharpe like a professional athlete sport. It was like, you don't hate the Cowboys. You hate them because they the ops, but you don't personally hate them like if you see them in the street, it's problem. No, but in the season, you guys play for the opposition, and it's F y'all. We over here, and y'all on that side, and that's it. Until one of us gets traded, right? It's serious. It's not deadly serious, but it's serious. It's about life and death, but not literally, right? It's more like financial life and death. Because as Katt gets into it, he talks about the cabal that is that little group of Harvey and Cedric and all these people who protect each other, which I get it, right? If you're coming up with your friends, if you have some extra roles or anything you want to do, of course you're going to try to get your mans on. That's not necessarily a bad thing, unless you're on the other side of it. And it's like, damn, I know these people aren't that good because they weren't at where we were at, and we were getting it from the mud, performing in front of 50 people and then 75 people and then 100 people and doing it in different places. And we're gonna get into that. Again, I'm slow rolling this intro, but you have to understand why this is such a monumental interview. There's a reason it has almost 8 million views in one day, because this is the perfect time for this information. If you scroll down this page, you will see a video where I talk about Katt Williams. Is actually the best performing video on my channel. Katt Williams talking about how Kevin Hart sold out to the industry. And sometimes people can take that in a bunch of different ways. It sounds very vague. But in this interview, he gets very specific on not just Kevin, but Rickey, Smiley, Ludacris took a shot for no reason, which is crazy. But, you know, Martin Lawrence, who was mentioned before as well. He said, Martin Lawrence tried to put me in my first dress. Oh, and by the way, the dress thing, again, full circle, it comes back. The dress thing comes back. It's so interesting how the dress thing comes back. So let's get into it. Listen, let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into it after 15 minutes. So they start off talking about the, you know, I hate to use the term, but quote unquote safe space that Shannon Sharpe has created with Club Shay Shay. And not safe space as you can't say nothing, oh my God, that hurts my feelings. It's that this is the space where it's safe to say whatever you want. If it's truthful to you, say it out loud. So if they mention you in a negative light, that's messed up, but you're also allowed back up there to defend yourself, you know? So that's what happened previously with Cedric the Entertainer and some other people that he'll get into. So now he chose to pull up to Shannon Sharpe because this is a platform that has established a level of credibility that this is not going to get edited and changed and set up to look crazy. It's just going to be put out, which is what he respects from the channel. Let's take a listen.
You spend on the guest. We love how much work you've done, how well you know them, how prepared you are. The same things that we liked about you in football. You brought that on over to here, and that's why it resonates. And the reason I had to come is because you've made a safe place for the truth to be told. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate
and
that.
I have watched all of these lowbrow comedians come here and disrespect you in your face and tell you straight up lies. I'm talking about things that have never been heard in all of Black Hollywood. They feel comfortable sitting here lying to you about it.
You gonna set the record straight?
Are you kidding me? You let Rickey Smiley sit here and you said out that mouth, you stole Friday After Next, the one I was in. I wish all of America fumbled a bit when that happened. And then he said some stuff that we haven't heard in 100 years in Hollywood. You ain't say nothing. This man told you he had Katt Williams' role. He was gonna be Money Mike.
Wait.
And Katt Williams was gonna be the Santa Claus. Now three quick points. You mean in Hollywood they cast a 5'5" black Santa Claus that weigh 145 pounds? That's your story. Your story is the Rickey Smiley that couldn't even do curse words because he had a Christian fan base. He was gonna play the pimp. Why you didn't ask him why has he played a woman in more movies than he's played a man?
Well, I didn't know
He shouldn't be able. You wouldn't let a athlete that been on steroids talk about one of the greats.
That main point right there, you wouldn't let an athlete who's on steroids talk crazy about one of the greats. And I love Shannon Sharpe, but there was a few times in this interview where Katt will use a metaphor like that and it will slide clean over Shannon Sharpe's head. Like, it didn't even leave a draft. Like, there was not even wind. Like, he didn't even realize what he's even saying. He's laughing right now, but he's not really understanding. And it becomes clear Katt Williams make an analogy between sports and comedy because he sees it as a sport. And this is his defense, like we talked about earlier. Sports are competition where you can defend yourself, right? Where there's defense. And comedy, the defense is on the stage, but is also in interviews, right? And podcasts. But he didn't get the analogy. He's saying when other comedians get help, that's cheating. That's being on the juice, right? When you're getting pulled up by certain gatekeepers and they try not to let you fail, but you're doing everything in your power to fail because in Katt's opinion, you're not funny, and in most people's opinion, and you're not failing, it's like, I wonder why. And he's saying you can't let people who are cheaters talk about people who aren't cheaters. Even if some are deemed more quote unquote successful, if you got picked to be that, you are actually not more successful than the guy who built it from scratch. I don't care. If you have a 100-foot building and you had the world to help you and they pretend like they didn't help you, and your job now, like he says it later, your biggest job is to pretend like, no, nobody helped me. I did this all by myself. While some other guy, like those people that build houses in the woods, actually built something on their own. I'd rather that hut than what you got because your building is built on a shaky foundation. What seems to be the biggest problem between Rickey Smiley and Katt Williams was previously on this same platform, Rickey Smiley came and said, I almost had the part of Money Mike from Next Friday. I know you guys don't remember. That was Katt Williams' first movie role ever. And he created Money Mike. Like, that character was supposed to be a crackhead in that movie. In response to this, Rickey Smiley said when he was reading for Money Mike, it was a fundamentally different character, and Katt gets into it. Some things happened in the original script that had to be changed because Katt wouldn't do it. Like the fact that Money Mike was a crackhead in the beginning, and then they switched it to a business owner, right? At first he was just some guy on a strip, and then it switched to him having that business. And the main thing, really the main switch, was the bathroom scene with Terry Crews and Katt Williams. The I'm a boy, Damon. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't in there. He was supposed to get R-worded in that bathroom. Like in the original script, Money Mike gets R-worded in that bathroom. He doesn't make it out. He's not the tough guy in that movie at that point. You know what I'm saying? But Katt was like, oh, actually, we'll get into that. But that's one of the main reasons that there was a change between the first character that people were reading for and then what eventually Katt made it out of. So even if somebody else would have gotten the part, he wrote the lines that we remember. So Rickey Smiley didn't have this character. He had a character, but not this character. And that's something he focuses on because he's saying, how come you were a woman more than you were a man in your movies? How you go from about to play Money Mike to the rest of your career playing a woman more than you played a man, which is a valid question in regards to the idea that he came in and stole your part, or at the last second, which is Rickey Smiley's story, is right before we were about to do a final reading for some execs, they switched the lines and said, oh, now you're gonna play this Santa character. You were gonna do that, but now you're gonna do this, which could happen, you know. In that reading stage, everything is not very set in stone, but I'm sure once Katt started doing his thing, they were like, okay, well, this guy's gonna be Money Mike. It's not gonna be nobody else. It's definitely not gonna be this guy. He don't bring the same pizzazz, you know, even if he did well in his reading. All of this is important, especially with Rickey Smiley, because of how it eventually goes on.
Rickey Smiley can't act because Rickey Smiley can't act. He told you the story about when the movie came out. Where did he say he watched it? At home. He wasn't even at the premiere. You telling this man, you stole that. Oh, so he could get his name in the same sentence with a great one. It is sad. He was just that bitter when we were shooting it. He told everybody, it should have been my role. Everybody on the scene. Why do you think no cast member has ever said anything?
Now, I'm sure that's super difficult to work with. Every day going to work and someone saying, man, that should have been my job. Oh man, that should have been me. If you feel that way, that's cool, right? Like that's fine. No matter where you at, no matter where you work, if you feel that way, I should have got the promotion, that's fine. That's human. But to be known as the guy that was walking around the set saying that out loud is corny.
So Rickey Smiley knows this, and I don't know why he would lose a child and come on the air and start lying. That's why people believe in rituals right there. It's because, well, why would he lie? I don't know why liars lie, but I can tell you this. We auditioned in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I was audition number 201. 200 black comedians auditioned for the role of Money Mike with me. You're saying all 201 of us was auditioning and you had already had the role and had already shot the role in 4 days? The truth of the matter is, the Money Mike in the original script got raped in the bathroom, and that's what Rickey Smiley was okay with. Katt Williams had to take the risk in front of the studios and the cast and our powers that be in his very first movie and say respectfully, humbly, guys, if we're talking about anything else, I have no credibility and I have no pull. But we're talking about comedy,
right,
where I have all the credibility and all the pull. The problem with Friday After Next is we're trying to make a classic comedy. And this comedy involves a rape. And rape is never funny, no matter who it happens to or what the circumstances are. If you would allow me to allow us to do this movie without a black man getting raped in it, I promise you that it will be twice as funny as it would be with him getting.
Now, that would be a completely different movie. It would not be as revered and loved and, oh my God, they should bring it back. If that would have happened, it would have been like, whoa, that was tough. Even back then. So imagine now, right? Now that scene still holds up. But if they would have done it the original way, it definitely wouldn't have. But did you hear what he said? That little part in the beginning? Let's play it again.
So Rickey Smiley knows this, and I don't know why he would lose a child and come on the air and start lying. That's why people believe in rituals right there. It's because, well, why would he lie? I don't know why liars lie.
Shh. You know what I'm saying? That part right there, this is early. This is like 6 minutes into this 3-hour monstrosity of an interview. This is almost right off the bat. They start off with the, oh yeah, this is some good cognac. Oh yeah, it tastes good. And then it gets right into this. This is like, hello, how you doing? This is good morning, how are you? This is right off the bat to say something like that. This is why people believe in ritual. And they just moved on. They just moved on. And he dropped stuff like that throughout this entire interview. It's so crazy, but not in the former way of crazy where it's like, oh my God, you can't believe anything he's saying because it's crazy. It's like, no. We've uncovered, right? It's been uncovered and now common knowledge in society that this stuff happens. And he's gonna get into some famous names, but already he's saying like, see, look, you doing this weird stuff and we can't explain it. You do a lot of stuff that we can't explain. I'm not trying to make this video 7 hours long, so let's get to it.
And here's the other thing. Everything that Money Mike said, Katt Williams wrote. So what Rickey Smiley say on his? Can't say my lines, I wrote them.
I think that's like the home run right there. Maybe you were offered or pushed forward for a certain type of role, but what ended up being on the screen is not what you signed up for. He's saying, I know this for a fact because I wrote it. So it doesn't matter what you thought you were gonna do. No one wrote these lines but me. So what were you gonna say? That's a slam dunk.
What he told everybody was, Katt Williams, and don't nobody know who he is. I'm on the radio. I'm with Steve and Said. Everybody know me. That's what he told everybody that would listen to on the set. That's the truth of the matter. He was so egregious, not now, then. He was so egregious that, and Hollywood has never heard this in 100 years. He was so egregious, I put in my contract that I won't work with Rickey Smiley again unless he's in a dress. Now, what was Rickey Smiley's next movie? Was it First Sunday? Did he wear a dress in it? You bet he did. It's in my contract.
Woo! I know it took us a little bit, you know what I'm saying? We took the scenic route, but wow. The power that he's talking about, he just described how he used it, right? It's no longer the, I heard, oh yeah, this story, rumors in Hollywood. He's saying, no. He was talking crazy back then. So I said, if we're ever in a movie together, in my contract, he's got to be in a dress, right? So when we're talking about soul selling, it's not necessarily, you know, the devil. Sometimes you just have ops and you make enemies with the wrong people who have more leverage than you. And they can say, if that person wants to be in this movie, they gotta wear a dress. And the producers and the directors have no problem at all understanding that they need a higher named person way more than they need some person that's willing to be a forgettable character to put on a dress. Like if he says no, get him out of here. It's easy. We're gonna find somebody else. But we can't find another Katt Williams. So we need him more than we need the other guy, right? Sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's that simple. He said, and what happened in his next movie? Oh, all right then. That's harsh, man. That's such a reality check. So as we see in this case, it wasn't like they offered him $200 million. All he got to do is put on a dress. He just picked the wrong enemy. Rickey Smiley thought he had leverage and power on his side because Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer were his friends. But now when you have someone that you've made an enemy with who have more leverage than you, they can ask for stuff like that. It's crazy, but they can. All you can do is say no. And you didn't. And you didn't. And that right there, that decision to be like, what? I'm not doing that. That one decision to say no is the complete difference in people's careers. In many people's careers, some will do anything for any type of relevancy. Anything. And he gets into the Harvey Weinstein. Should I get into that? Nah, that's the next video. Let's break this down in little pieces, because if not, this one video is about to be 7 hours. So this is only part 1 of the breakdown of this interview. It gets crazier. This is only not even 10 minutes into 3 hours. So pull back up. We're not done with this. There's so much left on this plate. We gotta finish off full. Let me know what you think in the comment section. This is only part 1. Pull back up for part 2 because it gets crazier. This is only 10 minutes into the interview, and we're gonna continue with the rest of the people that were shot at. Peace.